Anthony, how well do you know the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air theme song?
Out of everyone you had to ask.
Well, but the thing is, I trust you if you say you know it.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, you wanna, I beatbox and you rap it and people go, what's going on in here? Yeah?
Hey, come on in.
All right, come on up, Anthony from Team 4-Star, the fine purveyors of Dragon Ball Z Abridged. Petros will be the go-go dancer during this. Okay. 5, 6, 7, 8.
Tell this story all about how my life got flipped, turned upside down, and I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how it came to in a town called Bel West Philadelphia, born and raised, where the playground is where I spend most of my days. Chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cooling out, shooting some b-ball outside after school with a couple of guys. They were up to no good, started making trouble in my neighborhood. I got one little fight, my mom got scared and said, "What with your acting on the belly?" I went to pull a cab, and when it came near, the license plate said Fresh, and there was dice in the mirror. As anything, I can say that this club was clear, and I thought, man, forget it, go home to Bel-Air. I pulled up to a house about 7:08, and I yelled to the cabbie, "Yo, home, smell you later." Looked at my kingdom, I was finally there, sitting in my throne, that's the Prince of Bel-Air.
And that was that. Anyway,
yeah.
If you're here, you have stumbled into the My Life as a Video Game panel.
People that are dead set here to just kind of scooch that way or like next row or something. Just don't be here.
We won't get spat on by Brentalfloss. When you hit those hard T's, the splash zone, that's right. You might even see Shamu. Is that a dick joke? I don't even know what's going on anymore.
It's been a long convention.
Yes. So yeah, if you're not familiar, there's a series called My Life as a Video Game. It's now had 7, 8 episodes? Depending on how
8 episodes and a combined, I want to say, 400,000 views?
Yeah. And we're going to answer your questions about it. And also, if you unwittingly came for a Brentalfloss Q&A, there'll be a lightning round right at the end.
We'll take questions and you'll ask Brendan.
Yeah. And I'll try to answer them quickly, which is the hardest thing for me to do. It's harder than lifting a piano. Lift a piano? Yeah, okay. Answer your question succinctly?
I'd like to see you lifting a piano someday.
Would you like that?
Yes, I would.
Okay.
Can we make this part of piano?
Yeah, do you wanna go for it? Okay.
Can we get a piano over here?
Oh, I thought you said panel. Well, should we start taking some questions about the show?
Yeah, alright. Before we show the thing, does anyone have any questions for? Yes, we do. I expect that over there.
The question is, would you have a laptop with a projector? And the answer is yes. So I could do it. It was just one simple thing. Not now. Your badge says I'm single on the back. Where were those when I was single? Anyway, actually, as if I needed the sticker when I was single. I was such a lech. Anyway, so, you know what I mean? That kind of eager energy where you're like thinking that you're sending out like positive, lovely vibes, but actually you're sending out creepy, weird vibes. Yeah. That was my early 20s. Anyway, so, questions about the show. You, sir. What's my favorite part about working on My Life as a Video Game? It's probably seeing how it actually looks when it's done, because for me, I'm in an itchy green suit. I look like Tingle from the Zelda series in this suit, and I just, in my apartment, you know, like I have to put my dog in a certain part of the apartment where he can't whine, because he's like, what are you doing in there? Why aren't you paying attention to me? And go and record these lines, even though I don't know what the lines sound like that I'm referring to. It's tricky for me, and now I'm much more relaxed. But my favorite part is when I get to actually see how they picked the right delivery, they timed it out right, and now my little snappy comeback is part of the show, and I'm a floating head. It's very cool. It feels like being, you know, Zordon or Holly from Red Dwarf or something, you know. So, good question. One more. Are you trying to communicate something to me by? Sometimes people, especially Canadians, think that if they just move their mouth and no sound comes out. But do you guys all have some kind of Borg connection that I don't? People will come up to me and be like, and I'm like, whoa. I want to help you if I can, sir. What are you saying?
We're speaking Canadian.
Gotcha. Yeah, well, we're so loud. We're not a
I'm British. Should I be able to understand it? Is it like a royalty thing? Like
It's not a Commonwealth thing. It's specifically Canadian. It's the one thing they have. It's all theirs. That and Tim Hortons. Which I love, by the way. It's true. It's true. There is a turf war. Seriously, in New York right now, you'll see like West Side Story style gang dance fights where like half of them are Dunkin' Donuts guys, half of them are Tim Hortons, and the Dunkin' Donuts guys are like and the Tim Hortons is like hey. It's very weird. They dance around, throw donuts at each other. Could we get another question that maybe Petros could answer? Go for it.
Next season. I'm actually not kidding. Kind of.
Men new will be
New men.
Jerry. Hello, Jerry. That would be so great. Not really. Alicia.
We have okay. Spoilers for a second season that may or may not happen in the future. But the plan is to finish the second season on a sort of Skyrim episode, basically. So, yeah, it would be a big kind of like fantasy RPG finale. That would be handy. Thank you.
Hey, look at how you see all the little smoke I'm making in the thing? That looks really cool. We're almost making kind of like a little mystical experience for everybody. I'm just talking out my ass. Which is Americans. You have Canadian. That's how Americans talk. Questions?
Yes. I got really drunk one day.
In the past.
One day, long ago. I'm actually not kidding. I was drunk one day and I was playing a video game and thought to myself, I'd like to live in this game, but then I realized like 5 minutes later that'd be a terrible idea. And what a hilarious premise that would be, because the whole idea of the series is that he wants to live in a video game, he wishes his life was a video game, and then when he's thrown into that situation, he's like scraping by the skin of his teeth and skin of his balls. So he's trying to survive, and that's kind of how I came up with it. Literally,
Everybody pictured his balls for a second. They must have.
That was my plan.
Yeah. Been using that moisturizer for like 20 years and it's still wrinkly. What the hell? Like you just can never get it. Anyway, sorry, ball skin jokes.
Yeah.
Good question.
Any
These
other
are good questions.
While we sound good?
Teacher's pet, yes, go.
How long when you had the idea did it take you to fully actually start it? Who were you going from?
Like until it aired or until like we started production?
Like until
Okay. Kind of a weird thing because I wrote the first pilot for it when I was at film school. We had to do a pilot for a web series. And I wrote the original pilot for My Life is a Video, called My Life is a Video Game at the time, which will actually be included on the Blu-ray. And it's terrible, so please don't watch it. But anyway, it was originally going to be about a guy, because I was very into like that guy with glasses stuff and stuff like that, and I wanted to like do something similar, but with a more storytelling aspect to it. So it's going to be about a guy who reviews video games and then gets sucked into those video games, and then comes out and reviews them kind of thing. I hadn't really done that thoroughly. And we shot this crappy pilot, and sometime between then and I went to VidCon in 2012, and then about a week later flew out to see Brent, and I've been toying with the idea of doing a Kickstarter for it, but it wasn't until I went to VidCon that I was like, yes, I have to do this now. This is my destiny. And I should have been his house all creepy and doing the same good voice, Brent.
You have to film a Kickstarter video.
And I was like, okay, but I'm making muffins, so 1 second. Like you just roll up, knock, 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 thunder, rain, raincoat, scary guy,
Yeah.
backlit. Oh, it's Petros. Yeah. Winnie the Pooh style. Are we ready? Thank you for getting that reference. You know what I'm talking about, right? Where he actually looks scary, and you're like, oh, it's Pooh.
Oh, it's poo.
Oh, Baba. Piggy, I'm just so scared. I can't do it because my voice is wrecked.
We'll just record Bane's lines and slow them down.
Rabbit.
You notice the Bane from Dark Knight Rises is basically Winnie the Pooh.
I told you that. I slowed.
You told me that?
Yeah, I slowed down Winnie the Pooh. I was gonna do like Bane the Pooh video, but I didn't want Disney to get on my ass. But I slowed it down, and it was like, "Let's get some honey, Robert." And it was like, "Wow, you are Bane." Oh, bother.
Any other questions? Well, we are very close to this. Yes. Okay, for those of you who haven't seen the first 8 episodes, maybe a little bit confusing. Excuse me. But this is basically going to be a short preview of the next episode. It is a work in progress, so you will occasionally see a green screen. And by occasionally, I mean very frequently. But... Right, okay. Okay,
So
so
what
turn
you-
it down to 80.
While you do that, if you haven't seen the series, basically Don DeWitt, played by Petros, gets mysteriously sucked into the world of video games, and he continues to be put in these situations in different game genres where he's, you know, the guy that has to set it all right. Not unlike a Quantum Leap kind of episodic thing, but with 3-episode arcs. By this point, we've done a Call of Duty style shooter arc, as well as a double.
It's gone 60 by now on my computer, but 4:3 up there. Let me revert. Okay, continue.
So by this point, he's gone through he did Double Dragon, beat 'em up arc. He's met a princess named Kara, and in this episode, she takes him to the spaceship called the Fortress and learns some stuff about her.
I can't set up for 80, apparently. I can only go from 1600 by 900. Yeah, nope, nothing there. Let's make it a portrait.
Somewhere beyond the sea,
Somewhere watching for me.
maybe if I make shadow puppets of a monkey and a dog, that would help.
Whoop. Let's go back to 4:3 again. So, what do you guys think? The shoe design is a guy named Stefan Chassalupe or something. I can't remember his last. I can't pronounce.
Stefan
He's French,
Chassalupe.
so his last name is a bit foreign to me.
I feel like you just kind of tried to make as many syllables that you don't think are going to go together, like Benedict Cumberbatch, but slightly more French. Or, I mean, Chassalupe, that sounds like one of those, like, vaguely...
It's like CHASSLOUPE.
That guy needs to just have, like, one of those single names, like,
Well, you
super
guys got
artsy.
Graphbox on
Well, there you go.
online, so like that was just simple. But if I said, yeah, his name's Graphbox, you think, is he like a rapper or something?
Or a really good geometrist.
He is a very good geometrist.
All right, I'll be
Badass
well.
ships.
Yeah. Isn't that, the ship is cool though, right?
Yeah. Thank you. You may notice that the renders were a little better at the start than they were at the end there. That's because they're not complete. So they will get actually better.
Any other questions? Well, yes.
How long was each episode?
From start to finish, including filming and everything? Apparently 18 months. Alright, if we were to like say film an episode, a good example was we filmed episodes 5, 6, 7, 8 in November for undisclosed reasons. But basically between that and the airing, they started airing in February, so it really depends on the episode. Like these ones have taken about 4 months worth of editing and effects stuff to do. So whereas the Double Dragon ones didn't take that much at all, because except when I decided to make shaky cam and tell people make this guy disappear, which I don't know if there's anyone who does effects over here, but like it's really difficult to do that sort of stuff. So, but it really depends on what you're doing and stuff like that. So yeah. Anywhere from 4 months to a year, basically, it could take. Yes?
Who's the editor?
I'm the editor. Not by choice. Well, we had an editor, and unfortunately, he wasn't able to take on the job in the end, and we had the second actor on board, and he sucked. So we basically, I kind of decided, well, the episode's supposed to come out in like a month or two. Maybe I should just take a crack at this. That's what I did. Yes, Lisa. Yes. Yeah, I wouldn't want to edit the second season because part of the reason it's taken so long is because I have to do my duties as both the writer, editor, and producer at the same time. And the writing part's kind of done, but the producing part is never over really. So it's always like having to update social media, having to like change, having to like send out press releases, prepare the YouTube channel, all that ungodly crap. That just takes up time. Whereas if I did straight up editing it, it would have been done. I would have finished my job by now. In fact, I have actually finished my job with the editing now. But so that's really.
How much of the episode is green screen filming as opposed to like actual physical plays with props?
In this episode, I realized it kind of when I was rendering out just now that there is nearly an effect shot in every single shot in that entire episode. Every single screen is an effect. All the monitors and stuff are all effects. They're all real monitors, they are there, they're not just like plastic cardboard, they're all like real screens, but they're basically just like screens with a cross on them so they can be tracked and stuff like that. And it's the rest of it, like most of what we do is except for explosions because I don't want to kill anybody. Or like destroy someone, blow someone's house up.
It's tough to get that kind of insurance when you've raised only 30 grand. I mean, you need a little bit bigger of a policy if you're gonna, kill civilians.
The setting props, like where you came with the tube in the beginning.
Yes.
That whole room setup is really detailed. You're looking at it cool. And I was wondering how much of that was just that you rendered after the fact.
It was all practical. That was all practical, with the exception of my teleporting, which was not practical yet. It was all practical stage work. And if I'm glad no one has. I'm hoping no one has seen this, but there was actually a gigantic hole in the roof there, which I haven't managed to fill in yet. That will be filled. That will be an effect. It has to fill that way in. I might make it like a skylight or something.
It makes the ship seem huge, so maybe.
Yeah. Good idea.
I have to say, having only seen it twice now, I really like the sequence where you see all the lights come on the ship, just because I'm not really.
Kind of ripped it off from Wrath of Khan.
Well, but here's the thing, like I'm not as a video producer really that focused on production values, but it's cool to see something like that shot legitimizes the whole ship. It's not just a model. Now you believe that there's this big ass ship, like, enormous space submarine, and it just sells it in a way that like you didn't have to do that shot, that sequence, but you did, and I don't know, I think it really adds gravitas somehow to designing the exterior of the ship. Now you believe that it is in fact full of stuff, Thank you. Well, welcome. I guess I should have gone to the audience for that one, but I'm already here. So.
It's actually funny, we actually had more shots like that, but something really weird happened during the transfer and we lost. I had the original footage and then my hard drive got corrupted, and my DP, who keeps the second part of it, if you ever film stuff like this, like lots of stuff that's going to be expensive to go back and refilm, always make at least 2 hard copies straight from the disc.
Well, the good news is that nobody had an excuse to say, we get it, the lights are turning on. Like, it was just short enough that, you know, like, it wasn't belabored, you didn't waste all that precious, like, rendering time on
Exactly, yeah.
shots. Because that's the worst thing when, like, you've worked so hard on a thing and you realize you've got more than you need, and it was so much work, and you cutting 5 seconds is like cutting hours and hours of rendering, and, you know, anyway. Shop talk. Other thoughts, questions, queries?
Yes. Okay, Jen, the lead actress, was cast about a year before the project started. She was actually cast when we did the pilot, and then we actually cut her part from the pilot because it would have been too expensive to shoot. Well, basically, the original pilot was going to be the pilot and what became the second episode in this, basically. And eventually, we're kind of like, yeah, no. Let's just shoot the pilot and that's that. And then eventually a year later, once we raised the money and everything, we did a casting process. Funny enough, Jen actually became the casting director, like later on, because I got really, really sick during casting. And I was basically, the first day I was like, yeah, everyone's great. Like, the second day I was kind of like, finished it. Third day I was covered in a ball, just like hugging like a water bottle, like, it's like, let the pain go away. And people walking in for auditions and they're kind of just looking at me like contagious or like.
There was an outbreak of actor flu that year, all starting from patient 0 here.
Yeah.
Good question. Any other thoughts, questions, queries? You said.
Where did menu idea
That's actually an interesting question because despite the fact that especially in these episodes, it's kind of an homage to Holly from Red Dwarf, the actual original idea didn't come from that at all. It came from the fact that in the original pilot, when it was just supposed to be a review show, I was going to have Brental play as Brentalfloss because I was doing the whole like sort of not look at like internet reviewers and stuff with a storyline to it. And I was originally going to have like Brent appear as Brentalfloss in like a dream sequence that the main character has, and it was going to be shot from here up. And then somebody was like, "That's really great advice, Brent. That's a good question. Why are you a floating head?" And it was going to pan out on something, you literally just be a floating head standing there, and like, it would be like, never mind about that. It's like this really weird sequence, and then kind of like hard, like when we changed the idea to being about guys like the video game, kind of simplified it, made it more like a kind of like a real story than a review show. That was when I kind of went, I like Brent as a floating head. I'm going to make more of it. I'm making the menu system.
And I got a chance to be Zordon meets Holly, so it was pretty exciting. And also, I mean, once I put on my tingle suit, you know, I don't have to actually do much. I just sit there and, you know, say my lines to the camera, like 2,000 miles away from any of the other stuff happening. And then I just get to watch and be like, oh, there's me. When do you think we should switch over to lightning round?
Well, it's now 1:37, so maybe like,
All right.
Any other questions? Yola? Oh, okay.
If you want to.
It is actually part of the story arc. It's like it's going to mention like there's a big space battle in this episode. It goes into an asteroid field, so we get a bit of asteroids, but space invaders kind of look to it. And then the next episode after that, because these story arcs kind of like have like multiple episodes, and then in the next episode we go into more of the space combat kind of thing. So we get like we go out into two space fighters, or as I call them, starfighters, and the marginally awesome movie, The Last Starfighter. No one? Right?
I caught the first Starfighter, but I just didn't follow much of the end. See, if you don't know The Last Starfighter, then that's it.
Yeah.
All right then. Question?
Apparently one now. The idea is that the thought in my mind was between 4 and 5, and I wanted to do like kind of like a lot of shows like fail to renew themselves and they become boring, or they change themselves too much and they're unrecognizable from what they were at the start.
Weeds.
Yes, definitely weeds. Anyway,
I'm talking about the series Weeds. I wasn't just thinking out loud about marijuana. slight distinction there.
Yeah, I think like the idea was like for the first 2 seasons were just going to be Brent as a floating head, Don and Kara going to different worlds and recruiting champions. Eventually, kind of like culminated with Don, like sort of like growing the fuck up. And the third season was where I was going to like kind of change things up a little bit and maybe bring Brent in as a fully formed android.
Yes, we'll have to kickstart my gym membership for that one.
Yeah.
I don't want it to be like, oh, he's finally got a body. Oh, he's finally got a body. Oh. You know, like, oh, didn't have the budget for the Iron Man suit there, did you? Yeek. What would my body look like? Would I just be in the green unitard? With my obvious, that's what his dick looks like, bulge and like, you know, butt crack kind of.
Okay, well, I did think of
tightness.
doing kind of like a Luke Skywalker Return of the Jedi, where like he's wearing clothes and obviously like on his like hand, he puts a glove over it so you can't really see it. So maybe I was even thinking about putting gloves on you, or like literally putting like green on your arms and tracking markers that make them into like Deus Ex robots. And then I realized, why am I giving myself more work to do?
Right. Just make a Tron suit for me. With a girdle built in.
I thought that'd be really cool.
Because see, the Tron, those are going to act like vertical and horizontal stripes, not slimming. You know, you just need to have a built-in bodice kind of thing where I have sort of weird pecs because it's all pushed up. No? Am I overthinking this?
No, I like that.
Okay, cool. We'll just cover up all the weird like corset strings in the back with like a Ninja Turtle.
You know, it could be done for
shell.
one episode at least like that. I did kind of like have the idea to open that season on a stealth episode, kind of like combine them with solid Deus Ex.
Cool.
Which
Yeah.
both games I love, so.
Awesome.
Yes. Crisis.
With the box
I'm
head?
now imagining this.
I really prefer an hour less of makeup if possible.
Yeah.
I get very cranky when like I'm in a thing, like when I did my discount Robo video where I dressed up as Robo for Robo Trigger, and I did it by myself and couldn't get out of the suit. And I'm just sitting there flailing with my arms in this, you know, like laundry vent tubing, like I fucked myself so hard. What am I gonna do? Go out into the street? And she was at work. I was like, am I gonna go out into the street and be like, can you help me get out of this, please? Somebody, I'm stuck in metal tubing, it's scraping, I'm getting weird paper cut things on my wrists. Just pull this robot suit off me. Of course, I'm half naked underneath. That's not gonna work. I wedged it in a door and pulled my arm out. Great story, Brett. Anyway,
I'm a little like worried about what your neighbors think. I mean, like if you were telling me about like one day you're probably going to end up having to answer the door in the green unitard and like.
I don't want to.
Chase the mailman now, going no way.
The thing is, it's a full body suit, but it took me a while to like cut off the fingers so that I could, with one hand, scroll on the like trackpad of my computer with the script. And also, I ended up just cutting it off, not very attractively at the thighs, because it's really hot and you never see my legs. So why am I sitting here in like footy unitard, you know, sliding around my hardwood apartment?
And yeah, according to the mental.
Say what? No, this is what I do to do this. I get in a green unitard.
Should we show
them?
Yes.
Do you have a picture of it?
I'm sure I have something.
It's not attractive, y'all. It's not. It's like, here.
Ignore any porn that you see on your screen right now.
Aside from Brent unitard porn. Really? Okay.
It's got to be here somewhere.
Oh, I can't wait. Oh, you're just talking about like the raw footage before you.
Well, I've never seen you in the full unitard, so like.
And that's totally on purpose. Actually, I did appear in an episode of Nerd vs. Geek in the suit because they needed me to be the weirdest character possible.
I have no idea where he is. Sorry guys, he's
Do you want to look at that when we start a lightning round?
Yeah, that's no, never mind.
So what we're gonna do now is, if you had questions for me that didn't pertain to my life as a video game, there were some wires crossed and I didn't get a Q&A panel. So what we talked about is that we could switch over to Brentalfloss mode, if that's okay with you guys, if you have any burning questions. Clearly you do, not all at once.
Burning questions, diseases.
Yeah, go for it.
What happened
What happened to my second channel? Basically, I realized that my second channel had a really cool title animation, but a flawed premise. On the internet, if you can do something well enough that people like it and come back, the trap of it is that you really kind of need to stick to that, unless you totally hate it. Because if you've become the McDonald's of what you make, people show up, they want their burger and fries, they want their Coke, they want to get out of there. They don't want,
salad.
Yeah, like if you're like, well, I've done pretty well as McDonald's, but I really want to do like pasta primavera and like chicken cordon bleu, and everyone's like, yeah, we just want the Big Mac. And the concept of the BB Spin was that every episode the thing spins and lands on a different category. Very few people are so charming and wonderful, not even me, that they can pull off a whatever the fuck I feel like each episode kind of show. So the idea of doing one on politics and one that's a song I wrote and one that's a comedy sketch and this, it's what you call a diffuse brand. It's not giving them a thing that they can hook into and come back for every time. And even though I'd like to just have a channel where I just do whatever I feel like, frankly, I have a lot more success, particularly lately when I've ramped up my production schedule, just doing the thing people like that most of them subscribe for. So that's what happened to it. But thanks for asking. Thoughts, questions, queries, hands. You, sir. No. See, I can do questions succinctly. I don't really know it. Does it have a tune you could hum?
The Red Love one is kind of like, it's very humble to me, but that's because I was addicted to Red Love for a good 2 years.
And that's kind of like some FMV stuff, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah?
Some fucking hilarious. It's got, you like, Rocky,
It's my favorite.
Tim Curry, yeah, he's in it.
Oh! Tim Curry. That's how he sings down.
He's in Red Love 3, so.
Okay, cool.
And he's hilarious.
Yes. Awesome. Anthony.
Russia.
Have you ever considered doing a with lyrics video or album, but with just like Saturday morning cartoon songs?
Well, I have thought about doing more TV and movie themes, more pop culture stuff. But so many of the tunes we really remember as a culture have words already. And the ones that don't, like I did MacGyver, thinking, hey, there's all these old people on Facebook now. They'll get it. They'll share it. Nope. Didn't work. And I mean, it was a funny enough video if you like MacGyver and know that tune, but it's like, I think that to answer your question in broader scope, I do want to start, like the fact that Weird Al is able to do really well with his new album, it proves that the whole doing a parody of a pop song still works. And so I think I'm going to branch out into that a little bit just because it's the same kind of thing, and if it's funny enough and maybe has sort of a geeky slant, I think it could do very well. But I do want to start branching out to stuff that's not video games, but only every now and then because of the, the McDonald's thing. That'll be my McRib, like sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. You start in the back.
Are you doing any theater work apart from your internet stuff at the moment?
I'm not, because theater takes forever and is heartbreaking, and you have to A, love it, and B, not be able to do anything else. Having been an acting major in undergrad, musical theater and songwriting to the stage in my master's, they always say, if there's anything else you could do, do it. Only stick around and stick through this if this is the one thing you can do and the one thing you want to do. And I'd love to write musical theater and just theater in general, but it's just, the process does not actually pay the bills, and I wish it weren't true, but New York is so expensive that like fun side gigs, it's kind of like you do the thing that makes you the money to pay your exorbitant rent, etc., or you get evicted, and that's kind of it. But what I'm hoping is the new upload schedule, will maybe show people that are, doing TV, film, maybe indie features, things like that, even video games that need songs, that I have a discipline that I didn't used to have, and that they might scoop me up and, pay me to write something like Still Alive from Portal, or, like The Great Mighty Pooh from Conker's Bad Fur Day, or actually have a decent score to Epic Mickey 2, which nobody played, which they made a musical. It was a musical, but it was like two schmoes that were like, yeah, I wrote a song once, I don't know, I'm kind of a song about that.
What about the I don't know if it's like a well-conceived or anything, but the Just One Duck thing was...
Well, Just One Duck, which is a video that I came out with, it was like an 80s power ballad about Scrooge McDuck. That was almost going to make the credits to DuckTales Remastered, but I was asked too late by one of the audio guys. They'd already made an any credits thing, and it just didn't work out. But yeah, like I want to do that kind of stuff, and I feel like, you know, I think people sometimes think of me as a performer who insists on being involved, but I was a musical theater writer for years. I love when somebody with a way better voice than mine or a way more perfect sound than mine sings a song I wrote, because, you know, I've just got this one instrument, and if it's, you know, if somebody else is a trombone and I'm a bassoon, you can only bend it so much before it's like, this is really not a song for his voice. Yeah, good question.
I feel like my body is ready.
Yeah, if you didn't know, I wrote a song called My Body Is Ready for the Double Dragon arc of, basically just laden with, you know, with console references.
It was one gigantic meme, basically, like,
Yeah.
in song form.
Yeah. Thoughts, questions, queries? You again, teacher's pet.
How involved are you with music for
Not at all. Only because I don't really do a whole lot of instrumental scoring because it's a very time-intensive process for me. Some people are faster at it, but it takes me. This is why I actually couldn't find a way to make video game composing into a viable career, because it just, some people can compose and arrange really quickly. I think it's because I'm kind of precious with it. I'm kind of like, oh, I wrote this tune, I just want it to be just perfect, and like I spend a lot of time crafting it. The short answer is I'm not involved, but I did do that one training montage song, and maybe one day I'll write lyrics for the theme song. I don't know. Other questions? You, whoever you are. Why did I change the singer? Well, I think you've been, well, okay.
Because it would be really awkward if Samus was a bull.
No, she's asking about Amanda Lepre. Amanda Lepre is extremely talented and has a kick-ass rock voice, but I really, you know, to my own peril, wanted a Disney sound. And Amanda doesn't have a Disney voice. She's got a badass, I've got a guitar on stage sound. So it was great to do it live with my old band, with Amanda, because she had a live rock sensibility. But for the video, I just really wanted it to feel Disney, and obviously that got me in trouble with all the waifu fanboys out there in the world. But yeah, I never planned for the video to be Amanda once I heard her do it live, because I was like, okay, this is great for this medium, but when you don't get to see her, you just get to like hear the voice in the video, it didn't feel right. Other questions? Not all at once. You're like, you seem to, was that a yawn or a shrug? Polite Canadian yawns, where they don't open their mouth, they have to just contort their body in order to, this is what happened just now.
Would anyone be interested in
sorry.
science?
You just caught the thing. You just caught the candidate. No, it's okay. It was, no. It's totally fine. You realize that you're a really important member of this group of people because you're like 5% of the room on your own. But no, the yawn was like this closed mouth yawn, like it went kind of like this. As if either you were about to, you know, reveal your final form, or you were yawning politely. But the thing is, like, yeah. Anyway, question.
Since you're an internet, global fan, do you have a lot of some international songs?
I do. Most of my fans are basically in English-speaking countries. The center of it is the United States, slightly less in UK, Canada. But I do have a contingency of international fans.
Actually, a lot of Swedes.
Yeah, Scandinavians, because they can tell that I'm one of them. They can just sense that I've got those rosy cheeks and that, you know.
You look exactly like Thor, so...
Clearly.
Yes.
The female Thor? Or the male Thor? Yeah, the answer is yes, but it's not really competitive or current. It doesn't actually challenge the numbers of my English-speaking, like basically British Commonwealth or former British Commonwealth countries? Good question. You said.
Would it be possible, or do you think it is possible, for, say, a low or depressing type of song to make like a beat?
Yeah, I love taking songs and making them an arrangement that you don't expect. Or like doing the opposite, like the Mega Man 3 Game Over is very cheery and it ended up being very dark with the lyrics that I added. Right now I'm actually working on one that I'm kind of afraid to release because it is heartfelt. It's a song about Jeff from Earthbound, and it uses the Winter's White theme, which is the theme where he's like at the boarding school. It's basically just about like the moment before he joins the adventure. He's a kid in a town where it's always snowing, at a boarding school where he doesn't seem to get, like, be well liked or anything. He hasn't seen his dad in 10 years, and he's growing up and nobody cares. He's doing all this stuff on his own, and like maybe adventure lies beyond those gates. Maybe there's another life he could be leading, but for right now he's basically just like a pine tree, all alone with snow everywhere. And it's kind of a Ben Folds feel, but I'm this is a situation where the original tune was actually not so depressing, but it's taking it to that place. After doing the Metroid thing, I worry that doing anything that's down instead of up is asking for trouble because people aren't coming to me for emotion. They're showing up for that Big Mac,
What's their thought to us?
Exactly. Where's the farts? Where's the dicks? Where's the boobies? Yeah, Phoenix Wright. Phoenix Wright had almost all three, the tri-fart stuff. Full of it today. You, madam.
So why don't you, okay, so I'm an artist, I work in a play studio. I don't do the design, I do production. We used to say you bastardize your principles so you can make a living and make money.
Yeah.
Why don't you make another, whatever that term was last year, why don't you make another song like that to get your name out there again?
You mean the sad one or the Dick's Boobies? Like well, the thing is, that's sort of the central brand, and it's not always totally lowbrow, but like, I think that, it's usually comedy based, and I try to have Easter eggs that are intellectual so that smart people will go, oh, I get that reference, but also, so a 12-year-old goes, hey, I like that. That's the plan, to stick with that most of the time, but I guess I feel like, the principles thing, you're totally right, like, I've learned that I can't do all the different parts of the spectrum. It's like if Weird Al came out with a song like, Would You Know My Name If I Saw You in Heaven? If Weird Al came out with a song that had that kind of feel, everybody'd be like, okay, so you're gonna do a funny one next, right? But it's kind of like, my theory, and we'll see if it's true or not, is that if I keep on with this new schedule, which is much more consistent, much more frequent, if I do a video that's a little bit off the beaten path, but still high quality every now and then, it's only 2 weeks before they get another one, and I've got 2 episodes a week in between the big flagship videos. So I want to try it, but I do feel like this next one, if it really flops and really gets a lot of, if the like to dislike ratio on YouTube is not ideal, it may just sort of put the final nail in the coffin of me going off the beaten path, at least until I get out of student loan debt. And because right now, I'm trying to just pay off my student loan debt, credit card debt, pay my taxes from the last year, and that's part of why I'm leading this charge of doing more and more and more videos. But once I'm kind of solvent, I think I might, not go to my blue phase, not go all nuts and do the thing that people will refer to as then he got weird. I don't want to do that, but maybe a little bit more of the stuff that I would otherwise be doing mixed in, and not just stuff that is totally, I hate to use the word pandering, but if you know that everybody played such and such game, and it's got a tune everybody remembers, even if you're not terribly interested in it, if you can bring it to life and make jokes about it, return people to that nostalgic part of their past, they'll click on it and share it more, and you'll make more money. So, as opposed to, this one little thing you want to do that's like a nugget from your heart. But people, it's the pasta at McDonald's thing.
The Stones survived their weird disco phase in the 70s, so...
I think the world survived its weird disco phase in the 70s.
Have you heard some of the Stones' disco stuff? It's like...
I like disco.
I think so, actually.
Oh no. It's come back around. Disco was dead and now it's alive again because, I mean, seriously. Disco Duck, great song. The best. I think that does it for us. Any final thoughts or anything before we get out of here?
Who wants to see My Body Is Ready?
What, the song?
Yeah.
Do it.
Whole montage.
This is the montage, the training montage with my song titled My Body Is Ready. Are you getting Wi-Fi?
I am, but I don't know if it's...
Prepare to watch in 144p.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, you mean writing for or doing with lyrics about them? Well, I mean, Shovel Knight, Cave Story. I mean, the answer is yes, but if it's totally indie and nobody knows the game, then I'm doing a commercial as opposed to, doesn't ever, you know, like, remember when this happened? So I'd love to do more indie games, but part of the thing is if a lot of people played it, a lot of people will click it and share it because they know, hey, remember when we played this game together? But the answer is eventually I want to do more of that, but I never want to get to the point where I'm doing like getting paid to do a song. Like sponsorships are creepy to me because if it's not a good video and it was sponsored, then you're a sellout. If it was a good video and it's sponsored, a few people think you're a sellout. You know what I mean? Like, so I love Shovel Knight so much. I wrote and produced the video in a matter of 6 days. Oh, here we go.
Okay.
That really hurt my throat.
Living in a digital world can make you feel like a virtual boy. But to be a virtual man, I need the strength to destroy. Gotta be the commodore on this side of the sea. My road is the strong somebody I hear. Gotta be the Jaguar so they all can see the genesis of my family drive. My body is ready. I am the controller. I'm doing the math now and playing with power. My body is ready. And greatness awaits me. I'm changing the system and making it loud. My body is ready.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun to write. So that does it for us. Please check out My Life as a Video Game. And, you know, if you feel like checking out Brentalfloss too, I wouldn't say no. I'm going to be at the charity auction at 3. Come on by, good cause, da-da-da. Anything else for us?
I'm going to be downstairs. We're going to be downstairs. I don't think we'll be
In the vending area?
Yeah, in the vending area. We actually got a really cool new poster, so come check that out.
All right, thanks for being here, guys. We appreciate it.